Donna Sanchez, the Director of Communications here at National Marriage Week. National Marriage Week launches every February 7th through the 14th, and it's a fun time of events all across our nation. But it's also a movement that is growing all year long, when we're ministry leaders, churches, those in our government, and even us as couples are coming together to stand up and say we value our marriages. Our families and our country can flourish when the marriages within our homes are strong and healthy. So, we are so glad that you wanted to join us this evening and that you want to be intentional about growing individually and in your marriage. Each of our panelists is freely giving of their time to be here for you this evening to serve you in your marriage. Whether your marriage is struggling or in a really good spot, we are here to help arm you with the skills to make it even better. We are cheering you on. So let's get started.
Hello, viewers. I'm so happy you've joined our National Marriage Week panel discussion tonight. I'm Amy Morgan, your host this evening. Each of our guests has decades of experiences working with couples and offering practical advice, but they all also value a good sense of humor. Despite overcoming obstacles, they've maintained their positive outlook and helped their spouse laugh along the way. And I am just delighted to introduce you to our distinguished guests. You're really in for a treat tonight. Chris and Jamie Bailey are professional Christian counselors and marriage coaches. Together, they run Expedition Marriage, a ministry aimed at helping couples thrive. You can find them doing online therapy, speaking at marriage seminars, and hosting weekend intensives for couples in their home. Pam and Bill Farrel are international speakers, relationship coaches, and authors of more than 60 books, including best-selling Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. They have been happily married for 45 years and make their home on a live-aboard boat docked in Southern California. Together, they co-direct Lovewise Ministries. Jim Burns is the founder of Homeward. He speaks to thousands of people around the world each year and has more than 3 million resources in print in over 20 languages. His popular Homeward with Jim Burns podcast is on all the major platforms. Jim writes and speaks primarily on the values of strong marriages, confident parents, empowered kids, and healthy leaders. Thank you all so much for being here.
Our joy.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep, great to be here.
Well, humor helps keep things in perspective and creates an environment where marriage is fun and spouses enjoy each other. Take a second to think, viewers, what's the funniest thing that ever happened to you as a couple? Did your eyes light up as you remembered? Did you smile and laugh? Is it a story you share with others? When I asked that same question to our panel guests, they gave me answers that made me howl. Spoiler alert, we might share some of them later. A spoonful of sugar certainly does help the medicine go down. Jamie and Chris, how have you seen humor benefit your marriage?
Oh boy, it is one of the primary things aside from our relationship with Jesus that benefits our marriage.
Yeah.
And you know, our marriage ministry, Expedition Marriage, like the tagline is enjoy the journey. And that's meant for because marriage is a journey.
Yeah.
And it's not just this, straight, smooth road. It reminds me, I was thinking earlier today, there's a road when we were traveling on vacation, there's a road in between. I think it's in North Carolina.
It's Western Carolina.
Heading to Tennessee. We got on it on accident and it was crazy. It's called the Dragon's Tail. Oh. And I had to look up some stats on it. It has 318 twists and turns in 11 miles. So we're in a little, years ago, in a little rental Ford Escort, and we are just going, and we're like, oh my gosh, we are trapped on this road. You cannot get off.
When will it end?
Yes. And it's like, if we weren't laughing along that journey, we would have been vomiting. It was just so crazy. And it's like, that's marriage. Mm-hmm. You were going to have twists and turns and all kinds of things along the way. And it is so important to, constantly enjoy that journey, even in the hardships.
Especially the hardships.
Yes. And I know for me, I could speak for myself in this. I'm a little more, we'll say, tightly wound than this guy over here. And there were things earlier on in our marriage and relationship where I'll be honest, he would embarrass me, publicly embarrass me because he's so just out there in public. Even today at the doctor's office, I knew I was in trouble when I walked in and they had 80s music on. I'm like, oh, I'm not getting out of here.
You can't hum like that.
No, and I'm talking, to the receptionist. He's behind me, like totally jamming out and dancing. And I'm trying to, remain straight faced about this. But what's been good is the things that used to make my skin crawl and just like, you cannot do that in public. We're in the grocery store, quit dancing and throwing paper towels, all the things. But now there are things like through the years, like it's my favorite thing about him. Like he has lightened me up so much. He's helped me. His humor alone has enabled me to enjoy our lives much more. Like I'm definitely the funnier one, but he's the more fun one. And I
True.
think
She's got great material.
I do. And he's the only one who like publicly shares it. He steals my stuff all the time, but it's helped us, our humor and having fun and laughter as a foundation. It has really helped us tremendously handle the hard times in our marriage.
Yes.
And Jamie, I so appreciate you sharing that, because like the one principle in life I wish somebody had told me earlier is that our emotions follow our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you choose to make your life fun,
Yep.
your emotions will get behind it, and you will see the humor in life, because like life is a challenge, but life is also funny. And if you're looking for it and you allow yourself to enjoy it, you find humorous stuff in almost everything. Like a couple of years ago, we had an opportunity to get our whole family together for Christmas. And I mean, we're talking in the room, we've got a 4-year-old and an 82-year-old all in the room and everything in between.
And I wanted to like have everybody pray together, but like, how do you do that with such a span? And so I thought, okay, we're just gonna do some listening prayer. And so I gave everybody a card for each person. And they were just supposed to the person would share their prayer requests, and then we would listen for a moment and then write down like a verse or an inspiring quote or draw a picture. And so I explained all that. And I said, Bill, honey, you're the patriarch. You go first.
Right. So this is prayer. And everybody
Very serious.
It's a serious prayer for the family. And so my request, I was in the middle of caretaking with my parents. And it was a daily thing that required time and focus and very routine.
And we did it for 10 years. It just finished.
So my prayer request was, first of all, pray for stamina, because I have to be on it every day. And the second was, I want a robust sense of humor, because if you can laugh about the hard stuff, it seems easier. Well, like one of my granddaughters wrote out a prayer for me, and she said, "Dear Jesus, please give Papa strength and help him have a better personality."
Got answered. How about that? The fun part is she also drew a picture of a superhero with like all these huge muscles.
Yeah.
Oh,
That is so cute. I love it.
And the part of like laughing like that as a family, as a couple, is God created us to laugh like chemically.
Right, because the Bible says a merry heart is good like medicine. And when you laugh together with people that you are doing life with, oxytocin gets released into your blood system, and it bonds you together. Like it gives you the sense of, I belong to them, they belong to me, we're in this together. And so you literally have a better relationship if you're laughing together. And we all know couples that they're living with furrowed brows. They're trying to become the perfect relationship. They're trying to figure out exactly how this relationship works. And one of the best things that all of us can do in our marriages is just lighten up a little bit, because we're all imperfect people trying to develop a significant relationship. So humor it's guaranteed if you're willing to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what's cool about that stuff is, right, because you got the good brain chemicals, the hormones, that help us deal with the stress, right? Those are antidotes to stressful stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking, God, the joy of the Lord is our strength. There is a place in our brain that neuroscientists have come, caught up in the Bible, surprise, that is, they found it has an unlimited capacity for joy. It's in the right prefrontal cortex. It's deemed the joy bucket. It's also in the same area where relationship is.
Yeah.
So right, we fill up that joy bucket. It helps strengthen or keeps us less easily shaken when the relational stuff goes bad.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the fuller it is, like it never caps out.
Oh yeah.
And the more full it is, the more resilient you are, because
So
I mean, the
good.
truth is you can't be laughing and having fun and also trying to self-protect and also trying to defend yourself, or you can't remain in conflict while you're having joy and experiencing joy and laughter as well. So it's really, like you said, Pam, it's how the Lord designed us. Like we have these chemicals that are such a gift and we're not taking advantage of them as much as we should be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
So
sometimes
good.
we really have to be proactive about it. When Kathy and I first got married, we had our 1-year argument. We got married and then we kind of argued for that 1 year. And we had to learn to have serious fun. And, I did my PhD in traits of a healthy family and marriage. And one of the top traits was fun. And yet, so many couples get so serious, start making babies, and life's hard, and marriage is hard, and a sinner marries another sinner, and then you have sinnerlings, and you're kind of moving along. And the truth is that I think we have to be proactive. I had an experience. My daughter Heidi was actually babysitting some friends of ours who had been in my youth group. I was a youth pastor. And she came back and she's bouncing, and Kathy and I are doing the bills. And I don't have fun and I don't laugh and play when we do bills. We've had money, we've not had money. Both I don't like to do. So we're sitting at the kitchen
Still
table,
not fun.
and she shows up and she says, "I love Scott. I love Anita. They're the best parents." Silence. And we kind of look at each other like, well, what are we?
Top liver, hello?
But they said that you guys were their youth workers and that you were fun and funny. And then instead of adding, she just stopped. Like, what happened to you? And I realized that I had this aha moment because we had spent so much time being fun when we were in youth ministry, and we had fun when we were dating, and that drew us together. But then once we got married, we got too serious, and we had to be proactive about having fun and actually schedule fun. I mean, I know that doesn't sound very fun, but you schedule fun. And even Leonard Sweet said, you don't just work at your marriage, you play at your marriage. And your marriage is going to sing and dance. And I love that. Yeah. And so I had to learn the other way, where we had to literally be more proactive. And Bill, when you quoted that incredible scripture that says, a cheerful heart is good medicine. In the modern version, it says, but a down spirit zaps a person's strength. And I think that zaps marriage if we're not being proactive about at least having fun. And so, a lot of couples are saying, that's great. These guys have great stories and they're all funny. But the truth is, it's not all that. So we have to make sure that we put that in there so we can get that brain spurt that, Chris and Jamie are talking about and everybody else.
We cultivate it on purpose.
It's funny, Jim, you said that you guys had a 1-year argument.
Yeah. We had one of those, but 5 years in.
Well, but our first year of marriage was the surprise drama. Yeah. Like Sam and I both grew up in pretty dysfunctional homes.
Yeah. Like really.
And I didn't know that was coming. So we're in a living room one day and we're having a conversation with each other, and all of a sudden Pam jumps out of her seat.
He's like, "You hurt my feelings." I run to the room. I slam the door. I throw myself across the bed. I look back to see if Bill had followed me.
You're on the dragon's tail, weren't you, Bill?
Yeah. I'm like, what just happened, and what am I supposed to do about this?
Yeah.
Like, Jim, it wasn't in our premarital counseling.
No.
One guy in Florida, when we shared the story, said, "Run, Forrest, run."
So I did my best. I'm in the living room going, what am I supposed to do? Do I follow her in, or am I supposed to outlast this crazy behavior?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing. I have no idea. So my best guess was, well, I'm going to follow her in and see if I can make things better. Yeah. So we talked it through, and we didn't really address anything because we didn't know what was going on, but things kind of seemed better. And this scene repeated itself several times.
Until one day my brother was over having dinner, and Bill said something over dinner that hurt my feelings. I'm like, "Oh, I don't love him anymore." Run to the room, slam the door, throw myself across the bed, look back. And instead of Bill, it was my brother Brett walking into the room, applauding, trophy down. He's like, now for Best Actress, we have Pam Farrel.
I thought we are in so much trouble, but this is really funny.
I started laughing. They started laughing.
So
And we
good.
thought, oh, humor helps. We need like a password that helps us recapture those arguments. And we both really like the Rocky movie. Bill likes this.
Right. So when Rocky was trying to get Adrian's attention, she was working in a pet store.
Yeah.
So he would walk in every day with the same dumb joke. Yo, Adrian, you know what you get when you tap a turtle on the back? You get shell shock. Get it? Shell shock.
It's like a really bad imitation. It's like a stupid joke. But the next time Bill hurt my feelings, I like ran to our room. You hurt my feelings, slammed the door, throw myself across the bed. Bill walks in.
Okay, yo, Pam. You know what you get when you tap a turtle?
It still works today. Like we can be arguing, you know, and then one of us will just go, yo, or turtle. It's like super handy to have one of these, you know, passwords that you can read.
Yes.
You can be at a like party and it's like all awkward if you say out loud, like I want to go, because it might hurt somebody's feelings. So we just like tap the turtle, or something goes wrong on stage, you know, the curtain falls and we haven't finished, lights go out, we just tap the turtle.
They did that when we had dinner with them the other night.
Now you know, Chris.
That's funny.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So good.
Well, and Jim, I think we should mention that as you were talking about having that the title of your book actually is Have Serious Fun, which seems like an oxymoron, but you explained beautifully how that truly does fit together.
Yeah. No, it's
Jim,
you know, the have serious fun part is so key. And as they're describing it, you know, when families and when couples can have fun together, then it opens up close spirits. You know, building of traditions, you know, talking the stories. And, you know, you don't do that by just being always intense. You know, nobody's going to say at the end of the year, you know, what were the highlights of your year? Kathy and I do this every year. We go through our highlights. We never talk about, you know, it was that business Zoom or paying a bill. It's when we did something fun together, or when we even went on a trip, or when we enjoyed each other's company with something. We're again laughing at each other. That's what it is. And so it opens up opens up a close spirit. It opens up a close spirit with couples. It opens up a close spirit with a teenager, you know, who's being all moody or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And with your grandkids, it builds like that legacy of fun into the family. Like you talk about the family stories. Our grandkids love when we come over to visit and they say, okay, tell us something funny that my dad did when he was my age.
Yeah.
They just love that. And, you know, we talked about being purposeful. And it's so good that your book is like serious fun, because it is super proactive, you know, to put those date nights in. And, you know, we have always done that. Like, for example, we have sunset prayer walk every night. Well, when COVID happened, we needed like extra, you know, humor. And so on those sunset prayer walks, we would first listen to a Christian comedian on the way out. Then we would pray for each other on the way back, because it lifted our spirits, you know, to do that. And we actually were listening to our friends, Jay and Laura LaFoon, and they call themselves edutainers, and they are very funny. And so we're like a week into COVID, and we are caregiving. We're living in an RV, like on it bills
because our marina shut down.
Our marina shut down. And so we're living inland in this 300 square foot RV. Now, I don't know about you, but that was never like on my goal sheet. I want to live in a trailer on my parents' property. So we were sharing this date night. Oh, when you get on each other's nerves after like 24/7 together, we just go to opposite ends of the house. And we just started laughing. We're like, we do not have opposite ends.
No opposite ends of the house here.
Very
Yeah. And Jim, when you were talking about scheduling, you know, the importance of scheduling it, you know, the truth is we schedule far lesser things.
Yes.
You know, it's like we don't think twice about scheduling to go to the dentist or any doctor's appointment or anything like that. Yeah. But I mean, you can't get much more important than scheduling something that benefits and impacts your marriage so greatly.
You're exactly right. You know, I've been lately, I'm now just in the process, as probably you all are. I'm doing 3 marriage conferences back to back to back, you know, as this for this month, actually.
Valentine's.
And what I do is I challenge them I said, how many of you would give only your spouse 1% of your time? And it's always funny because some guys won't raise their hand. I go, look, this is an easy one. Just put your hand up. It's only 1%. But 1% is 90 minutes. It's a date.
Yeah.
And what I say on those dates is don't talk about the kids and do the insurance and all that. Enjoy each other, play, have fun, work on that on a date. And it even shows that the benefit of when you do that, there's even a great romantic benefit because it's all those cool hormones that you guys were talking about. They start pumping in your brain. And the next thing you know, you're in love and you're rekindling romance. And, it's a easy way for romance. So that's why I say to the guys, this is an easy way for romance. You want romance? Have some fun. A lot better than, telling them that they're not cool for today or whatever it might be. But, that's only 1% of your time. So when you do that schedule, put fun time into it. Yeah,
and it's double if it's like physical fun time. Like Bill and I bike together, and we live on a liveaboard boat, so we kayak over to get our mail or kayak over to get coffee, and so we put those in because you get those happy endorphins because you're physical, and then we do fun things like hide squirt guns in the house, and then like Pink Panther jump out and squirt. I mean, just random fun as well as.
And you're making us all feel bad that you guys live on a boat in the water in San Diego, California, right?
Actually, we live up closer to Bill's parents now. We live in Channel Island. So
Channel Island. So that's beautiful.
Okay.
Not shabby.
No. We're all feeling, envious and coveting, that kind of thing because we don't have.
Bill's redoing it right now. If that says anything, it's like the boat was born the same year we were. So no, it's not quite that. We graduated high school. So
it's vintage though. Jim, you also mentioned something that I found really valuable about having replenishing relationships with other couples. I know we lost a family member this fall, and we have this one couple that we really, really like, and they're very funny, and we always have fun with them. Right. And they came to stay with us for a weekend in December. And even though it wasn't the most convenient of times, I thought about what you had said because they filled our bucket. They just that replenishing relationship.
No, I agree. We actually had that experience this last weekend. I was speaking in Sun Valley, Idaho, which is it's not Channel Islands, but it's beautiful.
Where I'm from. That's where I'm from.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, wow.
Goodness. I went into the police station. I thought I saw your face there. Yeah, way back. But we were with 2 of our best friends, and when I wrote them a text and thanked them, and we were staying at their home while I was speaking, and I said, Kathy always says, her name is Pam. Kathy always says that when she's with you, she's uplifted and her heart sings. Well, we can't have all those kind of friends, but you can have some friends like that. I say we have VDPs, very draining people. They come around. That's the sister-in-law who is an alcoholic who wants money or whatever, and she's going to be there. But you also have VIPs, and you have to lean into those VIPs who become the replenishing relationships.
Oh, good.
And when you do that, we have a couple, there's 4 couples, and we do a lot of stuff together. And I always went, and one of the guys is a judge here in Orange County, California. And he was in my youth group too. And he's not that much younger than me anymore, but he's hilarious. I always go sit by him because I just know. And I said to him not too long ago, we just went out, and I said, you're cheaper than psychotherapy because you just like it. But think about, when we're talking about laughter, think about how that opens up your life. And you have it's just a better thing to do. Life is tense. There are times we aren't going to do that, and we can't feel bad about it. Like I'm more of an outgoing person. Kathy's more of an introvert. So Kathy doesn't need to be in the party or be the front of the party. She just is happy for her. A really happy moment is sitting on a couch at a party. And I've had a shallow conversation with everybody, and she's having a serious, fun, wonderful conversation with our Pam about meaningful things. And so we also have to realize how do we find fun. You were talking about kayaking. Kathy and I, we also live by the beach. We live in Dana Point, California. And so, for us, we are, doing stand-up paddleboarding. We're doing those kind of things. And we had to
Yes.
find
I
things
love
that,
that.
yeah, that's right. I know you guys too, Amy. I remember that. But you have to find things that you like together.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
again, and some people like to do things. I mean, I play a little golf, not much. Kathy, that maybe would be worse than vomiting for her to have to go play golf. All right. But so she's not going to go play golf with me, but I need to find things and she needs to find things that we can do together that we enjoy.
Yeah. We
And
bowl.
Yeah.
I should say Bill bowls without the little bumpers. I bowl with the bumpers and he still beats me. So if he ever wants like an ego boost, like, let's go bowling, honey.
That's
There's
a
those
fun
kind of
one.
things you do together too.
Yeah, we just played Nintendo Mario Party before we got on.
We play like 5 times a week. We love it. We had to pause the game to come in here and do it. So I can text you later and let you know.
That is so funny. I love it. Well, sometimes though, there are some obstacles. I know you've talked about some things that derail. Who wants to go first? Because we can talk about ways to get over those, but we got to kind of name them and claim them first.
Well, I think one of the things, I have a few things to say about this, but I'll share time. But when we were talking about like the
You're a
date
giver.
nights, I'm a giver like that. How you don't go on the date nights and talk about the kids and the bills
Yeah.
and all of that. You also have to put down your phone.
Mm.
You have to put down your phone.
Yeah.
And it's like when we bring our phone, even if it's upside down on the table, it's still, communicating to our spouse.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you until that little thing makes a sound.
Mhm.
And then I'm checking out, like leave it in the car, turn it completely off and put it away because we're training our brains now that little 7-inch screen gives you these dopamine hits all day long. And the struggle that happens is you get these quick fix dopamine hits. You get little quick bursts all the time. And when you do that, you're now going to desensitize yourself from being able to receive the longer ones that you get from being in relationship.
Yeah.
Because you don't get the quick hits in a relationship like you do in a phone. But when your brain is now used to it has to be fast. We have the attention spans of a goldfish nowadays. Like that literally is what it is.
Oh.
And that's really hard for your spouse to compete with that. And it's so hard to even engage in a conversation without going, let me check my phone one more time. Let me check. It's like we have to start putting down our phones because they're sabotaging our relationships beyond just on date night.
Right.
They're changing our brain chemistry and making us less able to enjoy one another's company and get those dopamine hits. I don't want to get my dopamine. I want to get my dopamine hits and my feel good and my pleasure from my spouse, not from this little piece of technology.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I don't want that interfering. So I think that's a big way that you can incorporate in date night and then just a general habit.
Yeah. Negativity also, some of us can tend to go negative, and I think we have to learn to flee negativity. And, even the Bible says, do all things without grumbling and complaining. And that becomes a habit if we're not careful.
Sure.
And I know that, like for me, Kathy and I are very different. So we had to embrace our differences. Like I was mentioning, I'm an extrovert. She's an introvert. I want her to be more like me. She wants me to be more like, her. What is it? She's detailed. And since she's not here, I'm less detailed. She would say flake, but we're going to go with that. But what I had to learn was a phrase, and this phrase has changed me. Does it really matter? Now, some things matter. I mean, there's people who are on this, where things matter. There's some abuse, there's, addictions, there's, adultery, all kinds of things that matter. But most things kind of don't matter. The toothpaste tube, it doesn't really matter. I mean, for example, somebody is going to squeeze from the middle and be all messy. Some will roll nice and neat, like Jesus would do, may I add. And does it really matter is the question. So, what did we do? We've got 2 toothpaste tubes because I'm talking behind my wife's back.
Yes,
about her
we
squeezing.
We have to.
But does it really matter? It was Winston Churchill who said, you can't throw stones at every dog that barks. So when you do that and you have a negativity toward your spouse, so a positivity, adaptability, those are the things that are going to make a marriage, thrive. It's not trying to correct them. It doesn't work that way. So screens are huge. So huge. And that moves right into, that's why I was thinking about the negativity, because it just, we have to be careful. We have to bite our tongues all the time. I have scars. You can't see that.
We had a dear couple friend that we spent time with this year, and they said to us, if it's going to be funny in 5 years, it's funny today.
So good.
And we just like, whoa, stop the train. It was so good. And, it's a decision of your will, just like you just said.
Yeah.
And our differences, they actually go way down to your DNA. That's what we're kind of known for.
Right.
So Jim, I really appreciate what you pointing out that we want to stay away from the negative.
Yeah.
Because the way I've described it to people is we want to give the same grace to our spouse that we give to ourselves.
Yeah.
We all know we've got some areas of our life work really well.
Yeah.
Like when we're in those arenas, like we look like we're superstars.
Yeah.
And then there's other areas of our life that move really slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can work on those areas and pray about those areas. And if we move an inch, that was progress.
Yeah.
But then we don't give that same grace to our spouse.
Right.
We tend to criticize them in the areas we're strong in, rather than saying, I married somebody like me.
Yeah.
Who's got strengths and weaknesses. And I want to make room for the weaknesses in a gentle environment.
Yeah. So good. John Gottman, the researcher that all of us probably quote and steal his stuff from the University of Washington, Gottman says that it takes 5 positive interactions and 1 negative with 1 negative interaction. He calls that the magic ratio.
Yeah.
So when you're going more negative, it's actually what he says. If you're 1-to-1, and boy, there's a lot of couples that are like that. If you're 1-to-1, you're on the road to either deadness in a marriage or divorce. So, the positivity we have toward each other, and again, that doesn't always come natural. So it is that idea of being proactive about it, intentional.
Yeah. And in what this all usually leads up to, these behaviors are not self-protection.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the biggest issues to connection.
Yeah, it's the issue
there
underneath the issues that everybody comes to see you for.
We get self-protective, emotionally reactive, and like to share, when it's you versus me, there can't be a we.
Right. No, that's so good. And we get defensive because of self. We want to protect ourselves, so we go to defensiveness. As soon as we go to defensiveness, then the conflict starts getting worse and worse, and we get detached and we kind of go on. But if we do the we, you mentioned it, I really appreciate that. When we do the we, what's my part of this?
Yeah.
So I'm blaming Kathy for something, but what's my part, and how can we work together? It's funny. I'm sitting in our podcast office, but I had a counseling appointment a while ago, and I took a water bottle. They were talking about their kid, 17-year-old girl who's kind of messing up. And I said, for one thing, you guys need marriage counseling. But we're not doing that today. But I put a bottle on this little table, right, kind of near here. And I said, let's focus on her. And they did. And I wish I could say that this happens every time. It doesn't. They walked out holding hands because they went, what can we do? They became a we instead of blaming that you work too much and you're, always being negative Nancy or whatever. So that's an interesting way that when we can become a we, then that's key for a marriage. That's key good stuff. Yeah. And part of being a we is that you can kind of almost laugh about it. They go, yeah, well, it's me, and even recognize your faults along with his faults or her faults. Yeah.
Well, and when you talk about the recognizing each other's strengths and weaknesses, Bill and Pam, we would be remiss if we didn't let you talk about your signature book about the waffles and the spaghetti. I think everyone wants you to unpack that and just share that, because that was so profound and also so funny.
Yeah. So men are like waffles and like spaghetti. Like how God gave that title to Bill is actually pretty funny.
Right. Like Pam and I were looking for a way that would be guy friendly to explain how relationships work between a man and a woman, because getting women engaged in conversations about relationships, it's kind of like fishing at the hatchery. Getting men involved is a lot harder. So we were praying.
We want to take the biblical, like God made us male and female at Genesis.
Yeah. So we were doing the research, didn't have a good way to explain it. And then one day I was helping out with the youth basketball league in our hometown. Word got out that a pastor was helping out. And this guy approached me and said, hey, Bill, you're a pastor, right? I went, yeah. He goes, do you meet with couples? I said, yeah. Okay, can I bring my wife in? I think she's broken. I went, okay, I'm curious. Okay, so I have them come into my office. They sit down, and literally the meeting started with, he looked at his wife and went, go ahead.
And the woman talked from subject to subject to subject to subject. And the guy looked at Bill with like deer in the headlights kind of look.
Right. And he said, she does this all the time. Like, I think something's wrong with her. Like something's broken. And in that moment, it all kind of came together. I'm thinking in my head,
it down.
Guys like food. So if we can somehow tie it, and it hit me. I said to this guy, okay, think about her conversation like a plate of spaghetti. Every noodle touches every other noodle on the plate, and every noodle is an individual topic. So she can change from topic to topic seamlessly and just let her go through the process. And he went, okay.
Bill taught him how to lean in and listen. And she talked for 55 straight minutes and then she breathed. And she said, oh, wow. So if I'm like that felt so good, probably because she was listened to for the first time.
Sure.
And then she, if I'm like spaghetti, then what's my husband like?
And I said, well, we're out of time for today. So in 2 weeks, and I'll explain that to you. So I left the meeting like, God, I have 2 weeks. I need a food picture that shows how men process information, and it's got to be delivered on time.
Waffles.
My boys were making toaster waffles one day, and I went, I think that might work. So I went back to this couple, and I said, okay, the way guys work, it's like a waffle. The waffle has a bunch of boxes. All those boxes are separated from one another. And we as guys, we put one box in, well, one item in each box. So the first issue in life's in the first box, second issue in the second box, etc. And I looked at the guy and I said, okay, it's your turn to talk this week. Do you have something you want to bring up? And he said, yeah, there is. And I told her, you cannot change subjects.
Like, stay in the box.
Whatever subject he brings up, which I knew she wouldn't be able to do. So I was like the police that day. And 5 times I had to go, we'll talk about that later, write it down, come back on topic. And they solved the issue in my office.
And it was the issue that was driving them towards divorce. So that was like powerful. So Bill came home and he's like, I can picture, I'm standing in the garage sweeping. And he's like, Pam, I just shared this thing and it saved this couple's marriage. And then he explained men are like waffles, like spaghetti. He's like, I think God gave it to me.
And I, of course, was, expecting the Bill. That's amazing. That's brilliant.
I said,
that's not what she said.
Okay, that's corny, but I trust you and I trust God. Yeah, let's use it on Friday night at that little seminar we're doing and see how it flies.
And we started it at this little.
It was like 30 people.
It was 26 people. I remember because if it was too corny, we were going to bury it and he wouldn't see light.
But instead, a newlywed couple who they were in radio, and he's came up to us after. He's like, have you guys ever radio show? And we're like, no, because it costs a lot of money. He's like, hey, I am the weekend coordinator for this largest talk radio station in San Diego. Come meet my boss. So we went to meet his boss, and his boss said it was Valentine's Day. I remember this. He's like, so Bill, I assume because you're a pastor, you would share how God can impact a relationship. Well, I'm blonde by nature. I'm like, wow, I get it. I know what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to say yes to this opportunity. And that men are like waffles, like spaghetti, really like when you unpack it, we look at 10 different areas. And one of them is really like in our world important, like men and women, we process stress differently, like how we women process stress. We talk our way through stress, but how guys process stress, they like to go their favorite easy boxes to rest and recharge. But that kind of helped us out in that most of men's favorite easy boxes are shaped like boxes. The TV screen is shaped like a box, the computer is shaped like a box. Basketball court, baseball diamond, football field, soccer goal, pool table, the refrigerator, the garage, the bed is shaped like a box. In fact, that bed box is Xbox favorite box for husbands to go to when they're stressed out, kind of like the free square in the middle of a bingo card, and they can get there from every other square on their waffle.
Bingo.
Yeah. So that's that little book. Now is like 15 languages, almost 500,000 sold. So it just we call it the truth that keeps on giving, because men and women were different, and God gave us a way to bridge.
And all it did was it gave people vocabulary to express what they were already experiencing
with some humor.
Yeah. So good.
I love that. And that, like, I'm taking what Jim has said and what you guys are talking about, like with the lack of negativity and just the understanding that we are different, that has so much opportunity for gratefulness.
Yes.
And I mean, we are called to be grateful, and gratefulness is always going to better your marriage a far, far more than criticism and negativity ever would. And it is that when you can understand, you know what, I'm not married to me. I'm not going to handle things the way, that my husband would, and he's not going to handle things the way I would. You can appreciate that. And instead we get stuck in that negative bias where it's like, you're not like me, therefore you are wrong. And so how do I get you to conform to my way, instead of flipping that script and going, praise the Lord that you are not like me. Two spaghetti talkers are going to be up all night long. They're never going to get sleep. And two waffle people, they're not going to accomplish anything. They're not going to, it's all just going to be done willy-nilly.
So
and so it's having that gratefulness. Yes. And that gratefulness is contagious.
It is.
And the more you're grateful and appreciate your spouse, the more likely they are to go, wow, that really feels good. And now I'm going to start focusing on what you're doing well. And now you have this grateful marriage. And what a great foundation for more fun in your marriage.
Well, gratitude fills the joy bucket.
Yeah,
it does. And it carries you through really hard times. Like, I have no hair right now because I just got over chemo. And so right when I got my hair shaved, God gave this amazing opportunity for me to share this incredible experience of how God is saving my life and that attitude of gratitude. And with the two people that were shaving my head. And afterwards, the next day I said to Bill, I said, you know what, hon, the plus side is I can get ready in 5 minutes and my suitcase is really light and I don't have to decide how I'm going to fix my hair. I'm saving so much time. I mean, I just was on a roll. I don't have to pay for all those hair products. And so I said, honey, we just need to keep looking for the upside. The whole time I'm in chemo, we just need to keep looking for the upside. And so my husband, when I got through, number 6, you get to ring the bell. And so he did this wonderful surprise.
Right. So I got a hold of a bunch of her friends, most of whom lived in San Diego. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive. And they agreed to come up and surprise Pam.
Oh.
So Pam didn't know they were coming. Yeah. And as soon as it got time to ring the bell, I marched all of her friends in.
They had pom-poms, they had posters. They brought me boxing glove that said "Not Cancer Out," and so it was a spectacle. And I rang the bell, then I shared Jesus with everybody that was there, and then we all went to our favorite restaurant. Thai food is my favorite restaurant after chemo. Who knew? But we just shared that. He shared that surprise. He knew that it would encourage me.
So we even decorated her car like it was
like cheerleading, like a fight, like a game. Yeah.
I love that, Pam. Like hearing you and watching you, you can see the true joy in your face, even with a bald head, even going through chemo and being threatened with cancer. It's like, and I don't think any of us are talking about sweeping everything on the rug, toxic positivity, just put a smile on. Cancer was a beast. You know, it's a real threat, but you can still battle with joy.
Yes.
And that's
you'll live longer. Those patients who laugh live longer. Those patients who pray live longer. Those patients who have family members that pray and friends that pray. The first thing they told me, every nurse, every doctor, is mindset matters.
Yeah.
So God made us that way.
Yeah.
And it's not things in our brains save our lives.
It's fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, Jim wrote a book about gratefulness too.
Yeah. You know, I mean, again, I love what you all are saying. I'm actually learning all kinds of stuff. I'm taking notes on you. Bill, you get major kudos and points for that. So, for doing that incredible thing. But, the idea of thankfulness, I call it, it's a life message for me, thank therapy. And I think you can do it in marriages. And sometimes I say, look, your circumstance isn't going to change, but your attitude can change. That makes all the difference in the world. And I do that through thankfulness. So most every day I write reasons why I'm thankful. When I was a youth pastor, I taught kids, not my own material, I used somebody else's, but adoration, confession, thanksgiving, and supplication. So acts. Youth group. Youth groups were filled with that. So I still do that. I haven't gone beyond that. And I remember, like with Kathy and I, one time we were speaking at a place called Mount Hermon, which you'll probably know where that is. Beautiful place. And we'd spoken all weekend. And then we were driving down. We went to Carmel, which is a beautiful, romantic place. We stayed in the cheapest hotel in Carmel. It was still more than our budget.
Is there one of those?
Yeah, long walks on the beach, wonderful Italian restaurant, great romance, just a great time. And as we're driving down Highway 1, which I think is one of the most beautiful routes, which is kind of by where Bill and Pam live. But as you're going down Highway 1, Kathy leans over to me and she goes, babe, I think you're getting a double chin. You got all of this romance. Now, of course, now you all are looking to see if I have a double chin. I get it. But I was so mad at her. For one, we had put so much time and energy and effort and it had been wonderful. And now I'm mad. So when I get mad, I crawl into my cave. So I crawl into the cave and she's paying no attention. She's like, oh, look at how beautiful that is. And there's rocks in the water and we're going down this curve. And I honestly felt like I heard God speak to me in a quiet voice, but said, practice what you've been, learning about. Practice thank therapy. So I went, thank you, with my teeth gritted. Thank you for Kathy. And she's an amazing wife. And she's the most amazing mother. Can't believe she said that, but but thank you for this and thank you for this. And I found myself thanking God later on, maybe, a few minutes, I leaned over to Kathy. I gave her a kiss. I don't suggest that when you're driving down a windy road, especially when you guys were talking about that. And I gave her a kiss and I just said, you know what? I'm really thankful for you. And she goes, oh, I thought you were mad at me because I said you had a double chin. I go, well, that's for another conversation here. But what was interesting is my circumstance hadn't changed. I was still kind of bugged at her for that, but my attitude had changed because I by thanking God for her, then that opened up my spirit, and that does cause joy. And it's what we're talking about today. You can have fun in the midst of tough circumstances. I'm not saying you fake fun. It's what what Chris and Jamie said. But I think it's important for us to make sure that our life, if it is filled with gratitude, it's hard to be grateful and feel self-pity. It's hard to be grateful and be angry at your spouse for something silly that they did. And so these are the kinds of things. This is what's interesting is we're not talking about rocket science here tonight. We're actually talking about things that work in a marriage and that really cause a marriage to thrive as opposed to marriages that aren't thriving. It's just that small divide. You're drifting. And then you have to make a course correction. And you don't have to make a course correction. Some we have to make big time course corrections and we need therapy and all that. I mean, that's absolutely right. But for others, we just make a course correction and become more playful, become more thankful. And when we see that, I think we see, marriages go from, kind of being mediocre to, going into the thriving deal. And we don't even sometimes know why we did it. But it was those little things.
So Jim, we actually had an experience this week where we got to practice that.
Yeah.
So Pam was over at one of our son's houses with grandkids. And I had another grandkid out and we were at golf practice. I get a call from Pam, the car that we got, she said, it won't start. And my first reaction is like,
I thought it was a clicker.
Really? Like really? So I said, well, I'll get over there as soon as I can and we'll figure it out. Well, I get over there and it turns out that when Pam stopped the car, rather than put the car in park, she left it in drive and turned the car off and a warning started going off.
All day it beeped. So I had no battery. Dead battery, dead.
Yeah, so I saw it happening and I got there and went, okay, well, darn.
I think
and I was able to jumpstart the car, but now I want to keep the car running for a while so it'll charge the battery.
Yeah.
And so I told my son, I'm going to go driving for a little bit. My granddaughter said, can I go with you?
She's 8 and she is just like, okay, she's like mini me. I'll just be really honest. And then so she gets in the car and she brings her joke book. Now she knows that we always keep a joke book in our glove compartment for those days on the road when you're like stuck in a traffic jam or angry at each other. So she brings her joke book.
So for 15 minutes, we heard our granddaughter read jokes to us.
Stand-up comedy, like, what did the beef say to the oven? It's hot in here. I'm roasting.
Turn the heat down.
That's funny. I love those
All
kind of
because
jokes.
Sam left the
Yeah.
car and drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's be free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, and people don't think it's a marriage verse, but I think it's a marriage verse. It's James 5. Consider it all joy when you have trials of various types.
Yeah.
I think it's a marriage verse
That's funny.
because you just have to change your attitude, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have trials of various times.
Yeah.
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 Because the
Well, and
results of that verse are what all of us want. We just
Yeah.
don't want the process.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
So another dramatic thing that happened that proves that point is, okay, so I had a DKA, which I have diabetes, and so I was spiraling into a diabetic coma. They put me in a medically induced coma. So God is so gracious. He takes me straight to the heavenlies, and it's just amazing. It's beautiful. I write about it in A Glimpse of God's Glory. And then we have this conversation, and God says, Pam, it's time for you to go back. Boom, I am in the ICU. My eyes open. I have a ventilator, and my hands are tied down. And I had been praying, not my will, but yours, God, when I was talking to God in heaven. Bill had been sent home, and he was praying, not my will, but yours, God, for me. Whether I'm going to stay in heaven, it's good. Whether I come back, it's good. And so the nurse runs in, and she's like, you probably want to know what happened. And I nodded, and I looked over, and there's a whiteboard. And so I asked her to bring it over to me, I motioned, and she brought it over, and she's like, you want to write me a note? And I nodded. And so I wrote, happy face, thanks, heart, an arrow towards her. She's her crying. She's like, nobody ever thanks us. And I'm in my brain, I'm thinking, what's wrong with our world? I mean, you see people's lives. And just then, Bill had finished emailing and calling and having everybody pray, thousands of people pray. He walked in and he saw me with that whiteboard, and he said,
I went, Pam, you're back. You're writing and you're bossing people around.
so humor was like the first communication. I mean, I
funny.
came back from life to a joke. Yeah.
Oh,
It was exactly what I needed.
and sometimes it can just be some little funny little thing, like if a couples want to just know a place to start, if they can't kayak across the bay. And Chris and Jamie, we do something a little similar, but I love it. It's just your funny, you've got a little guy, Mr. Creeper. Tell us about
Hans Creeper.
He is this.
I think it was a McDonald's toy. Yeah, like Hansel and Gretel, but he looks creepy. He's just this creepy little dude, and it's a running joke. We will hide him in different places, or so somebody comes over, we'll put him in a drawer that they open up, and then
Out of the toilet paper roll, wherever.
brush some things, and then they'll hide him in the kitchen.
I don't even know where he is now. He's somewhere waiting to be found in a very inappropriate.
Ask Elf on his shelf. He might.
Yes,
know.
that's kind of what it is. But it's Hans Creeper, and it has been. Gosh, he's been around 15 years. It's crazy, but that's what we do, and we get a good chuckle every time we find him in the most bizarre of locations. But Hans Creeper is his name.
Can I tell? I want to tell a story. Because there's a story which I was surprised Jamie didn't want to tell it. So I was not quite what you went through. But so I woke up in ICU, ventilator, tied down. And then I'm trying to write down stuff, what I want to write. So everybody's like, what's he want to say? What's he want to say? And they're trying to give me something. And I'm trying to write and stuff like that. And then Jamie's like, are you saying you want Dr. Pepper?
And a brownie. Literally his first words, 5 days.
I'm still ventilated.
And he wants
You
Dr.
can't
Pepper
even
and a
drink
brownie.
it, and you wanted Dr. Pepper.
That's funny.
Staff was around. What does he need? It's the first time he's talking, and the man wants a Dr. Pepper and a brownie.
Humor
a
helps,
legacy
even in
story.
desperate situations.
And for those couples out there who are not that creative, I would encourage them, maybe give each other the gift this Valentine's Day of choosing a comedian that you both like.
Yes.
And spend time watching the comedian.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of great comedians in this world. I mean, some of them are inappropriate, but there's lots of really good ones. And if you take time to let somebody else help you laugh, it just loosens everything up. And it doesn't put the pressure on, be funny. Like you need to tell a good joke.
Tim Hawkins, Carrie Pomerelli,
Nate Bargatze.
yes. So there's like, just put in Clean Christian Community and you'll get a ton there.
Yeah.
And also, have resources around like that have free stuff in it. Like our book, Red Hot Monogamy. It's like all about sex, but it has 200 red hot ideas in it. And half of them are free. And because he was a youth pastor and then he was a pastor of a small church, not like we had a lot of money.
Right.
So most of our romance is free, like taking a walk hand in hand to the ice cream store, get one scoop each, or doing a scavenger hunt, taking those dollar store Valentines and like hiding them around the house and it ends up in your bedroom, or taking pictures of each other and then send them as a post the next day.
Or go on a photo date,
text.
like everything you'd like to buy but can't afford.
Right. Like
There you go.
like pictures of your spouse trying it on or sitting on that sofa that you'll never buy. Things like that. It can be really fun to do free things because it gets you thinking. Like one of our favorite Valentine's Day, we had $5 each. And so we divided up the letters Valentine and we had to do something with that letter. And I had so acting. So I pulled out Romeo and Juliet, like from my, college days. And we read on a stage in a park, part of the Romeo and Juliet. And we had to feed each other on that too. And so we ended up going, free into Costco where you get samples, right?
I love it. That's a good one.
So
That could be a really fun date, actually. I remember we would go do that. That was really fun. I know, and it's and it can be for your family too, just this legacy. I know that you all have talked about that, about leaving that legacy of the joy and the fun.
Yeah.
Any other fun thoughts? Thought ways of different. You had some great ideas, Pam. Everyone, what are some
like the two things I would encourage, like two principles to carry, is first of all, train yourself to see the humor. Because life itself is funny.
Yeah.
If you allow it to be. So like it's happening in your family. There's always kind of goofy things that get said, goofy things that get done.
Right.
Like we have, as a family now, we are on the hunt for Pam's next typo.
Oh my goodness. Like my 3 sins instead of my 3 sons.
Right. And we have a son named Brock who often shows up as
Brick.
Brick.
Yeah.
So we now I send them to people. I'm like, look at this one that I just did.
And the other thing that I would say to people is seize the opportunities. Because sometimes your best memories happen when things are not going the way you had planned.
Like I run out of gas all the time. So that beeping car thing, Bill's totally used to me doing stuff like this.
Right. And one of our greatest memories was Pam planned a date for us. And I got a card in my office that said, "Our love is made in heaven."
Oh.
And I went, "Oh, this will be cool." So I assumed I probably would come home. There would be a babysitter and we were going to go out and do something. But I got home and the kids are all gone. And Pam says, "Come in the house," sat me down in the living room, brought me a lemonade. She said, "I'll be back."
I had this angelic outfit on and I was gone into our bedroom a long time, more than 20 minutes. And Bill's like, "What is up?"
Things are either going really well and they are really bad. I gotta be on my game. And she goes, "Okay, come on." And she walks me in the room and I hear this sound in our room I've never heard before. And it sounded like so I looked around like, what is going on? And there are pans of water on the floor with dry ice in them. And she's trying to create a cloud.
Heaven. Our love is made in heaven.
But it's not working because to pull it off, you have to have hot water. So I went, okay, how do we solve this? I gathered up all of the dry ice, put it in the sink, clogged the bottom of the drain, turned the hot water on only just enough that went up over the overflow of the drain. And this cloud poured out of our sink and filled our entire room bed high. And we got to spend the night in
heaven. There's a little clue though. You have to crack the window because it's
it's carbon dioxide.
Literal
You don't want to sleep in the clouds.
Yeah.
No, you absolutely
That's
don't.
amazing, Pam.
Oh, that's so funny.
Any of the rest of you brave enough to share your funny story?
Well, one of our funniest stories stories. It was a cheap date, right? So we were going to get just soft serve at McDonald's or Sundays or something like at McDonald's, and they're and they asked if we wanted peanuts, and I'm like, no, I don't know peanuts. And then Jamie starts off. We started off a pun that we still laugh about today. So Jamie goes, walnut.
Cashew.
And then, well, pecan.
We died laughing for an hour straight, like hysterical.
That is
So now
awesome.
our drives our kids crazy. Like we will talk about nuts like that and like for an hour, and it is so funny. Nobody understands us, nobody gets it, but we do, and it's hysterical, and it has never gotten old.
And you'll never get Alzheimer's because your brain is working so well.
That's right. That's right.
Jim, you have one you want to
Oh,
share?
you guys are telling just such great stories. What I hear you saying, what I love about what you're talking about is you're telling stories that kind of keep on living. So it's the stories that your grandkids want you to tell, your kids want you to tell, and that's the beautiful thing about families is when you have enough of those stories, you start telling the stories, and then you sit around and you tell those stories, and it draws you closer together. One of the stories, and Amy knows this story because I told it to her. I can't believe I'm telling it, although I think Amy should tell her story. It's crazier than any of them. But my wife my kids think she's a prude, and she's actually an incredible, beautiful woman. She took my breath away the first time I saw her. I said, I want to take that girl out on a date. And my two nerd friends at a freshman orientation in college said, yeah, right, that's not going to happen. And we ended up long story, but we became boyfriend and girlfriend after being friends for a long time, and the rest is history. But they do see, she didn't change in front of people. I mean, it's just this kind of thing. So we were in Hawaii, and she bought an outfit, and then when she put it on, the top didn't work. It didn't fit her. And so she just went to the store and traded one in and was going to, change. And so we were in this beautiful spot in Hawaii. Nobody is there. No one. It is absolutely. So she's so serious. She says, Jim, I'm her husband. We've made babies together. Right. And she's saying, Jim, I'm going to go behind that rock. I want you to guard it. If there's anybody here, I want you to yell at me, because all she was going to do is take one top off and put this other top on. And so she's going, is there anybody here? And all this. And she's behind this rock. Nobody can see her. I can't even hardly see her. And all of a sudden, as she goes, okay, I'm taking my top off and I'm putting it on. And a tourist helicopter comes over, and it just kind of comes right and hovers right above her. And at this point, she's freaking out, and I am laying on the ground laughing. So I'm not being sensitive. I'm not being scary. I'm just going, this is one of the greatest stories I've ever seen. I then lied and told her that I'd seen people with cameras taking pictures. That happened. But when we came back and told my daughters, I have 3 daughters, so we've had no home runs or drama in our life, of course. And when I told my daughters that story, they cried. They were laughing so hard they cried because it was Mom who did this, right? But it's a story that has continued, and it's grown a little bit. Kathy goes, I don't remember it exactly happening that way to any of us now, because we all tell the story.
Fleet of helicopters now.
Yeah, right. And I have no idea if the helicopter even saw her or knew what was going on, but it was the weirdest deal. It just came right over, and then it kind of dropped a little bit. There's Kathy behind this rock. So anyway, that's one of our family stories that continues. And you know what? It's great to be able to laugh and to be able to enjoy those times as couples and enjoy those times with families. It really does draw us together. Yeah.
It does. And if you're like just not feeling funny, honestly, if you pray, God, give me your joy, God will send things. You just have to be looking for it.
Right. Really neat.
Oh.
So Amy, are you going to share the story?
Yeah.
I don't know. We've already gone a little bit over.
But we are out of time.
Amy, what did you do on your honeymoon? You went on a honeymoon. Tell us about that.
Oh, okay. We've already told all of our friends, our boys know, when we were on our honeymoon in St. Bart's, we did get locked out of our room the first night. That was not so good. There were roosters crowing. We had to sleep on lawn chairs outside and look at the key on top of the bed that we were not in. We have laughed and laughed and laughed about it. I mean, that's our party story. Our boys know they're grown in their 20s. They think it's funny now too. So that's kind of our legacy story. So anyway,
You know, that leaves me with one last idea, that for you, anytime you see a body of water, you could kiss because it reminds you of your honeymoon. For us, we love dancing. Like at our marina, there's concerts, and we always dance during the concerts on our boat. And so nobody knows our last name. We're just called the dancing couple. And when we like go on an elevator, we push the button and then we dance until it, the door opens. And so just choose something. We kiss every time that we pray. It's hard to stay mad at somebody you kiss that much. So choose something little because it adds up over time.
It's really neat.
Or get a creepy doll like the
there we
Panelists.
go.
the creepy, that sounds creeper. Yeah, we have a little thing like
Listen,
that.
roll over in bed.
Yeah, we have one that finds its way into all of our luggage. We have a little thing that it's been all over the world in our luggage. So anyway, but oh my goodness, Jim, Bill and Pam and Jamie and Chris, thank you so much for being here and helping us learn how to love with laughter.
Yep.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
I feel better. You guys just made me laugh.
I know.
I'm
Me
going-
too.
Great.
we're watching a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, 2 grandchildren today who are sick. And so I'm going back to that. And you know what? I feel better already. I'm ready to go back and
Take your
hang out.
joke book.
And I'm never going to look at a helicopter the same again.
No.
Oh, well, you guys have just been great. And viewers, thank you as well for joining us for National Marriage Week. Stay tuned. We are back every night this week through tomorrow, Valentine's Day. And if you would like to join us tomorrow, make sure you sign up. Find answers to your questions and register at marriageweek.org.